Welcome to the How to Heal podcast, the show where we explore real life stories and practical tools to thrive. I'm your host, Lindsay Trimarchi Richter, and through over a 15-year journey of all things healing, I'm here to hook it up. If you're feeling overwhelmed, looking for a deeper connection, or straight up in a psycho-spiritual crisis, I got you covered. Let's unearth your unique elixir to purpose, peace, and progress. Here we go. What's up, guys? Welcome back. Welcome if you're new. I am talking today about emotional energetics. This is really the hardest pillar for me to talk about because this pillar is literally the crux of where the healing happens. A lot of the subconscious healing happens in emotional. And I'll tell you, I have an interview tomorrow with an energy healer who works in emotional healing. And I'm so excited for you guys to listen to that episode because she gives you a lot of really practical tools to address this. The idea of healing can feel super hokey, but this is not hokey. This is literally what we're doing, how we're taking ownership in the only ways that we can do ourselves. We can't go to doctors and look for them to cross every single T and dot every I. We really have to know ourselves in and out. I think like in one of my first episodes, I was like, I used to wish that God would just come to me and be like, here, Linz, here's what you're passionate about. Here's what you need to do. This is what's going to make you fulfilled. And this is your path. And guess what? Those answers exist, but only you can find those answers. So that's what this podcast is about. It's not hokey. It's not like weird. We're not talking about spirituality for the sake of like talking about spirituality and all these new age modalities. We're talking about spirituality because it's a pillar of health. I think if you're here, most likely you agree with this, but a lot of people think it's weird or just excessive or redundant or just like you don't need to talk about it. You don't need to say it. But who else is going to just really put it out in a way where it's like, actually, like, get your shit together. This is what we need to be a whole healthy person. So just talking about the pillars, we have the physical, that is both masculine and feminine. We know this because right now we have an upsurgence in gender expression, right? And then we also know that when we look at someone, they don't only embody masculine or feminine traits. They embody both masculine and feminine traits. And candidly, that's what makes people sexy. So if you were like looking at a caveman and he was just like, do like super masculine, it would not nearly be as sexy as if somebody came in and they had style and they had a soft touch and they were gentle, like, So when we talk about these pillars, it's helpful to understand them in terms of masculine and feminine. So again, physical is both masculine and feminine. Mental is masculine. Mental is a category that uses logic, masculine trait, and by itself on its own is just a masculine modality, if that's what you want to call it. And then we come into emotional, and you guessed it, emotional is feminine. So when we talk about feelings, when we talk about being receptive, when we talk about needing to process things, giving space to things, those are feminine qualities. And then we talk about the spiritual, which is literally transcendent of masculine or feminine qualities. It's all encompassing. So it's everything. And when we think about emotional healing, and guys, like, listen, I'm not here to preach. We know this in our bones. This stuff is not new. This is just a process of remembering, being reminded, feeling, reflecting, feeling, and then integrating, working on that, the consistency portion, and then taking it to the next level. They're all different levels of healing. There's never an end destination. We always have to admit defeat. Like we always have to be like, okay, I'm not feeling great. The wave ended. Let's go do some more work. Let's go swim back out. Let's go swim back out to the waves so we can ride another awesome wave. But you have to work to get to that next wave. It requires work. It requires consistent work. It requires uncomfortable work. The emotional portion of the work is by far the most uncomforting because when it comes down to it, if our emotions are untended to, or if we have emotions working on back in the scenes that we're not addressing, the mental body takes a hit because the mental body is just like I can't. And then when the mental body gets overloaded, the physical body is just a mess. So that's the trickle down. And just for example, I was a competitive softball player. I was an athlete in high school. And my game now is so much better because my mental body is finally calm. I've been able to address emotions for my mental body to calm down enough so my body is in a state of like clumsiness, overwhelm. My mind isn't unfocused. So my body can just respond to what my brain tells it to do. And that's why it's so important to address the emotional feelings that come up. They can be comfortable or they can be uncomfortable. Let's not use good or bad, right? Because like you could have emotions of sadness, you could have emotions of happiness. They're both there. Typically when we're sad, like we don't really need to address the happiness, but we should acknowledge it and we should write it out and we should celebrate it. And we don't need to wallow in I'm sad, I'm depressed. Oh my God. Yeah, sure. If you feel like you need to do it for a little bit until you have to say, okay, I'm swimming back out to the next wave. I can't stay on the shore being like washed up and down the sand, brushed up and down the sand a billion times. I'm getting bored here. Let's swim back out to the next wave. And I really want to just talk about the emotion of being brave because that emotion is empowering. That emotion is going to help you address the lower level emotions that have resistance on, that maybe you don't even know are really there or why they're there. I think a lot of times our emotions are hidden under circumstances that have happened to us that we repressed. So nobody is going to heal the emotions that are stuck in your body. When you feel like you need to cry, you can't go to the doctor and have the doctor cry for you. You need to sit by yourself in a car or wherever you are and cry and let it out and get to like the root, the cry. And it's a feeling. We don't need to think about it. We don't need to talk about it. You just need to pay attention to when your body wants to do a physical response to an emotion. Give your body the liberty to respond physically to an emotion. If it's safe, if it's confined, and if it's feeling liberating to you. Emotional healing just happens on its own time. It's like a yawn. Sometimes you don't really know when you're going to yawn, and then you do, or it's a sneeze. Like you can be halted in the middle of a sneeze, and it's the worst feeling ever, especially like if you're going to yawn and you're like, oh, it's a half yawn. It sucks. Now I'm yawning. So when we recognize that healing happens on its own time, the best we can do is to just set an intention and be like, I'm open to healing in this way. I don't know how it's going to come out. I'm open to healing in this way. And you can ask and be like, body, mind, myself, let me heal in a way that's comfortable to me. Like, let's keep it confined. Let's do it in the privacy of my own way. You can set those intentions too. But just understand that you can't just sit down in a therapy session and be like, okay, I'm ready to heal. Let's do this. And then you walk out of the therapy session and you're healed. It's just not the way it works. We are healing different things at different times. I also want to talk about intellectualizing emotions. I am the queen of intellectualizing emotions. Intellectualizing emotions is a way of acknowledging emotions that you have, experiences that you had that caused certain emotions without actually feeling them. I talk about this all the time. IFS, I'm such a fan. It's called Internal Family Systems, and it's an opportunity for you to objectify your emotion as a persona that lives inside of you. It could be the 5-year-old you, it could be a 12-year-old you, it could be a 35-year-old you. And by objectifying that emotion, you're saying, okay, that body exists inside of me and I'm going to address it. What do I need to hear? Anxiety. I'm here to listen. Is there anything that I can hear you out on that would make you feel better? And usually at that point, since you're objectifying it, those emotions start to really move fast. They really play together. You realize that maybe some of your anxiety is lingering with some of your sadness, who's lingering with control or whatever it is, but you accelerate the processing of those emotions because you're objectifying them. You don't need to be you are not your emotions. You don't need to identify so deeply with your emotions. You can really objectify them so that you can understand the role that they play and why they are helping you or have helped you in the past. We're all human. We've all had shitty emotions. It's okay. It's okay to address that we have shitty emotions. It's okay to talk about it. It's funny. Like, I feel like I got scarred by all these men in my life who were just like telling me that, I'm being too emotional. I literally had a boss one time who was like, Lindsay, this is not a therapy session. I don't know if I shared this on one of the episodes, but I was like, no, this is literally the reasoning behind why we want to pick this site. This is not an emotional conversation. Like, just the way I was saying it, the way I was describing it was a little bit too intellectual for him. I'm not sure exactly what it was, but I just like, there's nothing hokey about this, guys. This is empowering us to drive the car that only we have the keys to. We can't put our heads in the sand and ignore that certain things happen that just are stuck in our body that are causing us to lash out in certain ways. When we have a trauma response to an issue and we have an emotional repercussion that's associated with that, not addressing that causes the brain, causes the mind to just short circuit. If you are emotionally overloaded, you just straight up short circuit and you act in ways that are completely irrational and illogical. This is why abuse happens. This is why people kill people. They're not processing emotions. They're just like short circuiting in their brain because their brain is so overloaded with toxic junk. This is what we're talking about, guys. Let's own the toxic junk in our brains and get it out. Let it go. It's not helping anymore. It was helping at a certain point. We can let it go now. We don't need to hold on to the identities of who we have been in the past, in spite of the potential of the person that we will be in the future. And that is it. There's no ego. There has to be less ego when we want to heal. We have to burn down. We have to just be a phoenix that burns and then rises again. We have to continually kill our ego to really get into the deeper levels of healing that are required to just be better people. And I named this podcast How to Heal candidly because I got the handle on Instagram a couple summers ago and I was so excited about it. And initially, my whole thing was motivational healing. And I was just like, yeah, it's kind of weak. And then How to Heal was like more encompassing. But like How to Heal, this podcast is empowering you, is swiping you in a way. My voice should be igniting change within you and saying, I really like what you said is kind of annoying to me, but like I actually, or like, I'm triggered by what you said, but it's going to ignite change. It's going to ignite the spark that is required for you to burn your flame, guys. Let's burn, woman. Let's burn. Let's do it now, right now, because only you can take ownership of your next levels. It's not going to be found anywhere else. The personal transformation that you embody, times that are difficult, that you address fully, that you sink into when you rise above that is growth. That is healing. That is the next level. And with the emotional component, we just have to be soft. It's a feminine modality of healing. It is a feminine facet of our health. We have to be receptive to what we're feeling. We can't muscle our way. We can't smack the shit out of the way our emotions. It makes it run deeper. It makes it run stronger, and it makes you short circuit. It runs you to addiction. It runs you to self-hatred. It manifests as physical pain in the body, all of the things. So I hope that this was helpful. I think for me, emotional is by far the hardest because everyone's got their shit. And this is the most private of the pillars. You don't do emotional healing with other people as much. Like, you really have to just come to terms with how you feel about things and get honest with yourself. Again, you can intellectualize these emotions all day long with your therapist, but if you're not looking at them and being honest, you're not addressing the core issue. You're not addressing the core issue. So I love you guys. Thank you for listening, and I will see you on the next episode.